Hey everybody, welcome to Xavia Talks.
Give myself to not being honest. You know, you mentioned earlier you had shared a lot of stuff with your ex-wife about, you know, some previous situations, and maybe you didn't have the knowledge
tools.
that you have now to even
yeah.
you know, really talk about that. So the process of forgiveness is even huge, I think.
Absolutely.
But you have to be willing to forgive yourself in a sense of not, oh, I was a bad person, because everybody thinks, oh, if you talk about forgiveness, it means that you did something, you know, terribly wrong. But no, just for, you know, forgiving yourself means that I'm gonna forgive myself for carrying this emotion, or these emotions, these pieces of me, these little broken pieces into situations, and I situated others, you know, in my stuff. I gotta forgive myself for even doing that to other people before I can even offer that apology out to whomever.
Yeah, and I would even say, from a man's point of view, I took more of the burden on, of the responsibility, I think, than she did. Because as a man, you feel like I'm supposed to handle it, control it, you know, protect it, all those different kind of things. When all those things slipped away, I threw it all on me. Like, it's all my fault. Like, I wasn't this, I wasn't that, and I couldn't do anything. But maturity says that you're able to balance out responsibilities, you know, to it. That it's not always one person's fault. I don't care what they say.
Right.
How bad the other person was.
It's not you.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's a shared responsibility, and there are ways that we failed each other, ways we failed our bond and our commitment. And so being able to get some of the blame off me really helped lighten the load for me to see clearer that it's not all her fault, because that's initially, it's like it's all their fault, and then it goes from it's all my fault. Well, it's really all nobody's fault.
Right.
You know, we share in it. And I think, you know, when you can deal with it like that and have a balance to whatever it is, whether it's a relationship with your child, whether it's a relationship with girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, whatever, if you can just be fair and balanced in your approach to say, you know what, we just probably weren't really compatible when you get down to it. And so I can't blame you for that. I can't blame me for that. You know, it was what it was. And I think so many times over and over again, especially you as women, you all are able to talk about it, at least amongst your girlfriends and sisters and mothers. Men, really, it takes some intentionality to be able to sit down with your guy friends or with your pastor or whoever and say, you know what, I'm hurting over this, and this is what happened, and I don't know what to do, and I need to save face because my pride and all these different kind of things. So all those things work together. And so I think it takes a minute for you to get to the point where you can really forgive yourself and forgive the other person.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now notice he said hurt first before he said pride and anger and all these other things. And I think that probably has me questioning, like, and I know me and Xavia kind of shared some questions earlier, like the forgiveness piece. Like, you acknowledge, hey, I'm hurting, you know, but it was in this safe place for you. Is that different though for men than for women? I mean, the forgiveness piece, like acknowledging that, hey, you know, here we weren't compatible, you know, that's an acknowledgement instead of saying it was you because you did this, you did that. Compatible. You know, we just weren't compatible. I'm going to acknowledge this, but I also got to forgive myself for not, you know, paying attention to those things earlier on. Is it different for men?
Absolutely not. I think it's the same. I think the only difference is you all are more willing to talk openly about it and put words around your feelings. Men don't do that, you know, and so we'll bottle it up. We feel the exact same things you feel. You would never know it, because men don't heal themselves in the same place they hurt themselves. You understand what I'm saying? And so, like, if our relationship, if you hurt me in a relationship and you damage me and yada yada yada, and we break up, I don't go back to you to kind of reconcile and get questions out and kind of heal it.
So
I move on.
You're not the woman calling somebody, well, why did this happen?
You don't. No, absolutely.
You're not the woman saying, you know, so what I mean,
what was that? No, we don't do. You know what? We find somebody else. We start all over again. It's a clean slate. You know, we chalk that one up for a loss, and we move on to the next one.
But you kind of repeat the same thing. If
the
you never
same exact cycle, we can do that. So it's not healthy. I'm not saying that it's healthy. I'm saying that, but I'm not saying that going back and asking, you know, those questions will be healthy either. What I am saying is that when you can't, like, all of your steps, acknowledge where you are, acknowledge that you don't have control, getting fear out of the room, learning how to forgive, because sometimes even men will move on And I know this to happen, that they were dating, and then 6 months later, he's married to somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and it's like he carries that, doesn't talk to the wife about the one that got away, because there's always the one that had your heart that got away and broke you. But you don't talk about that. You just get married and have kids and work over it, and you harbor for years and years and years these questions that you all will ask publicly. We won't ask them publicly. We just, you know, we go with it, they're silent and move on. But I wasn't willing to do that because I found myself tripping over myself in these relationships, and I was like, I don't like the way this feels, and I'm angry, and I don't know why, and it's not you, it's really me. And it's like, it's really me, it's not you. It is not, no. It's me, and it's I'm not ready, and I'm scared. You know, I talk about, you know, in the book, I had this dating experience where I walked her to her door, and she turns around, she looks at me with these beautiful doe eyes, and I like saw how much she wanted us to be together, and how much she really wanted to be a part of my life, and how much she loved me. And I kissed her on her forehead, went to my car, went home, deleted her number out of my phone. Like, I cannot do this. It scared me because I understood, like, I am not ready for this, and I understood what she was saying, and she didn't say anything. But it was like that look went right through me, and I was like, I am not ready. I am not ready for this. And I think it takes maturity to say, you know what?
Yes.
I'm not ready for this. And I don't wanna, I'm carrying stuff that I really want us to be successful, and if I don't deal with it, then I'm gonna rehash the same cycle, the same pain, all the different kind of thing.
I got a question for you. From a male's point of view, from your perspective, you said I'm not ready. Can you define what ready means for a man? You're not ready. What did that ready mean?
I think that for all of us, not just men, ready means that you're ready to be present, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And when you have a relationship where you have to divide yourself, where you bring your body but you don't bring your heart, your mind, your soul, you're not ready. You're not ready. And there were pieces of me after divorce I could bring, but not all of me. Because it was so devastating, because I was married and I was all there. I was here, and it was devastating, it didn't work. And so you parse yourself after that. You know, you give little pieces of yourself. And so not being ready is you haven't reconciled yourself and integrated your pain and your hurt, your past, where you are right now. You haven't done any work to integrate all of yourself where you can give the relationship you aspire to have a fighting chance to be successful.
So I guess you're talking about the compartmentalizing, you know, pieces of yourself. Like when you put all those pieces together, for men or women, when you're putting all those pieces together, though, you look kind of crazy. You know, you look at it like, wait.
Cleaning, right? It's like when you spring cleaning, things get messier before they get neater.
Sure. Because you don't know where to put stuff at. You don't have the proper storage.
And you pull everything out.
Everything
at one time.
And you don't know how to feel about it. You don't know what to think about it. Some of us have had patterns in our lives where we lie about realities that have happened to us. We lie to us and say it was our fault when things weren't really our fault. So we have to learn how to be honest with ourselves, be able to reconcile, go back to some stuff and pull it out on the floor and say, you know what, that was wrong that was done to me. It shouldn't have been done to me, and it wasn't my fault. And putting all that, so you don't know how to feel about it. And it takes work, it takes time. And I'm a big proponent of mental health and spiritual development, because you need both of them happening at the same time.
You need the grounding.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things, and it brings me back to a very quick scenario. Someone shared with me, a male, that he had met this young lady and ended up with a court case, actually. Yeah, real crazy. But ended up with a court case because I think that kind of what you're talking about is that he found this person, had been in a relationship with someone 10 years prior, had proposed to the person backed up out of the engagement or what have you, but then he proceeded to move on in these syllable relationships, doing the same thing, but never really dealing with all the emotions or attaching himself in any one situation. If this one didn't work out, he went on to the next one, and unfortunately the last one ended up with him with an arm bracelet around his ankles, and going back and forth to court to the tune of maybe $30,000, you know, with an attorney and everything else, because he allowed someone to come in his home, because all he felt like he needed was someone who was going to cook, clean, you know, do the basic stuff, stay out of his way, they do their things and not tap into him as an emotional being. As long as he could, continue to buffer, and that's what I call it, buffering, himself, he would be okay with this person. Well, lo and behold, she was someone that was looking for him to validate her and make her feel better. He had the status piece and ultimately ended up filing some charges against him, which were false, and he was later exonerated. But that took a year out of his life, all because he wasn't in tune with who he was. He hadn't acknowledged all of that pain from 2011 and from 2006, right? He's carrying 5 years of garbage with him into this situation, and ultimately it unfolded in a court case.
It blinds you and it desensitizes you to know what's going on around you. It's like at some point you realize, how did I let this crazy person in my life?
Yes.
It's like, how did
what he said.
How did they get here? And they get there because you weren't paying attention to you.
Yes.
And if you don't pay attention to you, you're not sensitive to what's going on around you.
I have this, and I said it on the other show, which is No Holds Barred Relationship Talks. When I went through my whole thing and coming out and trying to get in touch with myself and what it is I really wanted, because I've had my moments in life where, my girlfriends will say, well, you like this type of guy, and it became apparent to me at some point, maybe I did like that type of guy. So I tried to get away from the type of guy and look for some substance. And so what I had to do was I had to sit down and I made a list. It wasn't like Chili's list. Well, actually it was kind of like Chili's list, but I didn't go through it like Chili does. He can eat pork if he wants to. I'm just not going to cook it, but she got a whole lot of stuff. But I had to actually look at what am I really looking for in a person. And then more so on top of that, then you have to actually go to, I learned this after the second attempt, I learned that you have to actually look at what do I want in a relationship. And those are actually two different things. Because you can find a great person, but that person may not be at a point in their life where they can or are willing to give you what you need in a relationship. Just because you're a great person don't mean that you can have the relationship with me that I need.
And I think that was going back to the compatibility piece. You have to have both chemistry and compatibility in the room.
And want it at the same time.
Exactly.
I think that's another thing, because there have been some times where somebody is the right person, but they're doing a degree program or they getting ready to do all these other, and they can't be present with you because life doesn't allow them to do that. And so wanting the same things, wanting it at the same time, everything just has to align, and sometimes, more times than not, they don't align, and that is just the reality of it. And again, you don't have any control over that. But to be emotional, you all are willing to talk about the way you feel. Men think it. You ask us, how do you feel about me? And a man's going to tell you, this is what I think about you. Because we are very distant. Our emotions are very secondary, but they're real. And so what I wanted to do is to kind of exercise in the book is that, men feel exactly the way you all feel about the relationship. Hopes, dreams, ambitions, all those different kind of things. And when it doesn't work out, we feel the loss. We may not talk to you all about it. But we do feel the loss, and I wanted to demonstrate that we can put words toward that. That, at some point, whether it works out the way we wanted to work out, you were loved, you were cherished. So I told my ex-wife, because we sat down and talked before the book came out. I was like, what, there's so many things I couldn't talk to you about. I didn't have the tools, the ability to talk to you about. But I just want you to read it, not to disagree with it, but to hear my voice, to understand at that moment you were loved, you were cherished. I had every hope that we would live happily forever after. It didn't work out, but I can still honor that about us. I can still thank God for the moments that we did share. And understand that you're a better person for it. I'm a better person. She made me grow up when she came into my life, and she made me grow up when she left my life. And I can be very grateful for that. Not saying that I didn't go through days where, I'm not saying that, because the real truth is that I have very intense emotions about that. But to reconcile and do the work to reconcile all of that, you begin to understand there's great peace with forgiveness. There's great peace with understanding that where I am, God has me, and it's not by surprise. And I have the capacity to be loved again and to love somebody again, which is what we all want.